Okay, so you've bought a TYME Iron Air and you want to know how to use it. Or maybe you're just interested in our products and want to learn more about it. So this is a tutorial for the TYME Iron Air. Okay, so before we start curling our hair, there are some safety and prep things that we should go over. With this iron, you're only going to work on dry hair. Do not use this on your wet hair. It will cause damage. Okay, so the next step is to use a really high quality heat protectant because this is gonna help prevent damage to your hair that hot tools can cause. If you're interested in the one I'm using, I'll link it in the description. And after I use a heat protectant, I like to brush it through to make sure it's evenly distributed. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn my iron on and set my desired temperature. So the TYME Air actually has 5 temperature levels, and they are 280, 320, 360, 390, and 430 degrees Fahrenheit. So let me turn that on. And you see it'll blink on which one it's preheating to. I like to set my setting to 360. I have about a medium texture of hair. It's not really thin and fine, but it's also not thick and coarse. And once it's done preheating, you'll hear that fan turn on, and that's what's gonna lock in your curls. So now I'm gonna section my hair off. I really like doing that because it helps me to get layers of curls and it makes my hair look more full and voluminous. So I'm just gonna section my hair into 2 parts, top and bottom. I do this because, like I said before, my hair thickness is pretty medium. If you have really thick hair, I would recommend maybe 3 or maybe even 4 sections. Thinner hair, you might not even need to section, but again, if you just want a fuller look, sectioning might help. Okay, so now my hair's sectioned off. Again, I'm going in with the heat setting of 360 degrees Fahrenheit. So the TYME Air can actually be used to straighten or curl your hair, which is really cool. So I'm actually gonna show you how I use it to straighten my hair. So personally, when I'm straightening my hair using this iron, I don't use the fan. I don't think it's needed, but if you want to use it, by all means go ahead. So I'm just gonna straighten a few sections of my hair to begin with, and then I'll go back and curl my whole head. The reason I'm doing that is because when you're straightening your hair with this iron, it's pretty normal to how you would straighten it with any other flat iron. And curling is where you really need that tutorial to fully understand how to use this iron. So again, I'm not using the fan because I don't think it's needed when I'm straightening my hair. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a little section of hair, not a ton. Now I know my hair's already pretty straight, but what you're gonna see with this iron is it definitely takes my frizz away, and that's why I'm using it. Okay, there's a section of hair. I like to hold the top part of the iron as I use it because you can create a little bit more tension by pushing on it. And you see that frizz? Do you see? The frizz is just gone. So like this side and this side, the frizz is gone on this side. So I'm gonna go on the other side and show you again. Now I'm pretty ambidextrous, so I will go between my left and right hand, but if you can only use one of your hands, that's also fine. Look, that frizz is just gone. It just melts your frizz away. It's so nice. So yeah, that's how you straighten. Again, it's super easy. Depending on the thickness of your hair, really fine hair, you're not gonna wanna go as slowly as I did. Medium hair, I mean, that was maybe like what, 3 to 4 seconds of me running it through my hair. Thicker hair, definitely gonna wanna take some time. So maybe like 6 to 10 seconds. Okay, so when I'm curling my hair with the TYME Iron, I do use the fan because it helps cool your curls as you're curling. And so you don't have to wait as long to brush your curls out in the end. So we've already been over sectioning my hair, but again, when I section my hair, I like to do about 2 sections because my hair's not super thick, so I really don't need more than 2 sections. But if you have thicker hair, I would recommend 3 sections. We recommend using about 1 inch to 1.5 inch sections. And you can really work however is easiest to you. So I like to part my hair in the back, and then I start with pieces from the back. And how I hold the iron is I hold it like this, and then I put my pointer finger on the clamp, and that's how I use the clamp. So you're gonna go in, you're gonna first start with the logo facing towards you. I like to start towards the roots and pull down a little bit, and what that's gonna do is that's gonna smooth my roots before I curl. So let me turn my fan on. And you hear that fan start. Okay, so I'm gonna start the roots, pull down slightly. I'm gonna curl up. So I like to do a 360 curl. So I turn the iron 360 all the way around, and then I slowly pull down. And look at that curl. So I'm gonna turn that fan off for a second so I can talk. So, like I said, I like to do a 360 curl. That gives me a pretty tight ringlet, which I personally really love. So say you want a little bit of a looser curl, you're gonna turn the iron about 180, and that's gonna give you a much looser curl that'll kind of fall and turn into more of like a wave. So let me turn that fan back on. Okay, so we're gonna turn 180. So I'm gonna start at the root, smooth down. I'm turning 180. I'm gonna slowly go down the shaft of my hair. Okay, and look at that. That is a much looser curl. So that's very much, if you let that cool and then brush it out, that's gonna be more of a beach wave. And that's gonna be really beautiful if you're into that kind of curl. Now, you can do a very big loose curl if you only turn the iron about 90 degrees. So let me show you that. So I'm gonna grab another section, make sure it's all separated and even. Okay, so I'm gonna turn that fan back on. So I'm gonna start at the root of my hair, and I'm gonna turn about 90 degrees. Then I'm gonna slowly go down, shaft of my hair, and then you can see it gave me the slightest bend in my hair. Now, if you like that, just a little bit of movement, that would be really pretty. Now, I used to have a bob, like a really short bob. I used to do that turn. I used to do 90-degree turn on my short bob, and that gave me the cutest little movement in my hair without giving me these crazy ringlets. So if you have shorter hair, I definitely recommend using that 90-degree turn, and I think that's really gonna give your hair a lot of body and volume. But I'm gonna go throughout my entire head using my personal favorite, my 360 curl. And you can see how my hair looks in the end. Actually, before I do that, let me show you how tight of a curl you can get with this. So if you want just like an extremely tight curl, which I've done this before, and it actually kind of made me look like I had like a naturally curly hair, and I got so many compliments on it. So let me show you how I did that. Okay, so for that tighter, like natural looking curl, you're actually gonna pick up probably like a 1/2 inch section instead of like that 1 to 1.5 inches. Okay, so I've made 2 full complete turns, and actually I'm just gonna keep turning the iron as I go down. And I'm gonna go really slow, and look at that curl. Look how tight that is. And if you do that on your whole head, it really is gonna make you look like you have naturally curly hair. So if you're into that, you need to try this curl. So like I said, I'm just gonna go ahead and go throughout my entire head using my favorite curl, which is the 360 turn. Let me go ahead and do that, and I'll come back at the end and show you how it looks. Okay, so once I'm done with that first section of curls, I like to go in and go ahead and add the hairspray. Okay, so our favorite hairspray here at TYME, and what we always recommend, is the Moroccan Oil Finishing Spray Medium Hold. So now that that's done, I'm gonna clip it away in the back, just so it won't get in my way. Now I'm gonna let that top section down. Okay, so as you can see, I pulled my hair down, I made sure I got my part right, and I brushed it smooth. So let me get my fan turned on. Okay, and I have my 1-inch section, and I'm gonna start curling. Okay, so I have the top section curled, so I'm gonna go in and spray it with my hairspray and lock it all in. Okay, so my hair is actually already fully cooled, and that is the great thing about having these cooling air vents, is it cools your curl as you're pulling it through your hair. So I really don't need to wait to brush these out, so I'm just gonna go ahead and unclip the back, that first section that I had clipped away. Okay, so these are the curls before I brush them out. You can leave them like this, but we definitely recommend brushing them out for a more natural lived-in look. When you're brushing them out, you can use a brush or a wide tooth comb. Personally, I just like to use my fingers. I think that gives me the best look. Okay, so now that my curls are all brushed out, the last step that we recommend is using an argan oil serum. So again, I will link this one in the description, but an argan oil serum is really gonna smooth down any flyaways you have and create really gorgeous, glossy curls. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put just a little bit in my palm, like a dime size amount. You don't need a lot. And I'm gonna start on my ends. And I'm just gonna continue brushing through my curls with my fingers and letting that argan oil distribute. Now, if you're like me, you probably get these flyaways on top. So once I have most of the argan oil off my hands, I just take the excess and I make sure they're rubbed in really good. And I'm just gonna lightly put it through the top of my hair. Maybe through my little bang pieces on the sides. A little bit through my bangs. I get flyaways in my bangs too. I just have really bad flyaways. So that's our tutorial on how to use the TYME Air. I'm gonna input some photos of me in the sunlight with my hair done, and so you can see it from the back and all angles. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, make sure to comment and like and subscribe.